quite an effort. Well, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and jazakumullah khairan to everybody for joining us for day 2 of our professional development. Today, we are very excited to jump right into things and to give you an opportunity to actually start off the day by becoming more familiar with the curriculum through your own exploration and then a conversation with other educators who have joined us today. We'd like for you to experience a unit through a simulated lesson, or actually more than one lesson, a unit. Dr. Asim is here with us to provide that. I didn't add this here in the objectives, but also very much an objective for us to help kind of scaffold your understanding of how you can integrate this into your current curriculum and scope and sequence. Sister Aisha has spent quite some time looking at different standards, including even in Australia, to help align this to your standards and curriculum over there, and to kind of get your minds ready for the third objective, where it is creating somewhat of an action plan for integration. And that's where we're going to end off today's session, inshallah. So we got our agenda for today is for us to revisit our norms, for us to do our curriculum exploration, to do a lesson unit review, and to talk about the integration, and then to dive right into the action plan. I know some of you asked for breaks in the feedback form. SubhanAllah, there's so much to cover, and today's our last day together, so we will have to just keep chugging through it. You all are adults, of course, feel free to take a break as you need, or to take care of whatever you need to take care of. However, just to revisit our norms, you'll recall that we asked for you to be ready with your cameras on, to potentially have a paper or pencil notebook next to you so that you can take notes, jot down some observations. For those of you who like to do that electronically, that's fine too. But to really ensure that you're in a distraction-free zone. So that sometimes means that we might want to remove some of our electronics from us so that we're able to really focus. And to really own this professional development experience. What you put into this, the energy, the focus, inshallah, all of that is inshallah what you get out of it. So although it's not part of our agenda today, I'm going to ask us to take just 30 seconds to reset our intentions. I need those 30 seconds too. And I'm going to ask you to also see if you can elevate your intention. Maybe you can connect this to one other thing that would be pleasing to Allah, and see how you could do that. So I'll stop talking now for about 30 seconds and then we'll move on. All right, are you ready? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So what we're going to start off with is exploring the curriculum. And I'm really excited about this because I think that this will help you be really prepared for the rest of the sessions, to get more excited about what's to come, inshallah, and even about teaching this. So we're going to begin by having you actually explore the curriculum on your own. Sister Lisa is going to place in the chat a document that will actually take you. I'm going to actually stop sharing that screen, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. So in the chat, I hope that you're able to locate that on your Zoom screen, right? Not that one, Sister Lisa. Actually, I might be able to share this. It's this. So I'm going to put it in the group chat. This is actually the document. So this last link that I've just placed here in the chat, when you click this, what it's going to pop up for you is this screen that you see here. Do you all see this screen that says copy document? Is that showing up? Yeah, all right, Adiba, thank you so much. All right, so you're going to go ahead and click make a copy. And what this will do is open up your own copy for you to write all of your notes. What we're asking you to do along with this copy is to go to the Bioscience in Islam webpage. And I'm going to place that link here in the chat too. All right. So you're going to toggle between these two, this document and the Bioscience in Islam curriculum. You will be able to go, and we talked about the epistemological framework yesterday. We talked about the relationships between the units. You might not have been able to really saturate all of those different units. You have 7 minutes to explore on your own all of these different things. You will be prompted to actually put in your information to access the materials. We're working on having it not repeat that request, but you might have to put it in multiple times depending on how you navigate. And then you click Access Now. And that will allow you to start accessing all of the different units. This is all available for free for you all to explore. And let me just briefly, before you go off on your own, friends, remember how it is when you're giving these directions to your students and they go right in as soon as you give the one. Not asking you to do it yet. Not done with the directions yet, okay? So just quickly to go over what you're being asked to think about. You're being asked to look at the curriculum. What are your initial impressions about it? Really open-ended questions about the structure, about the content. How does it align with your current curriculum or approach? What questions do you have as you explore it? And you can type in this again because it's your own copy, right? And then thinking about student engagement and learning. Are you going to be able to answer all of these in 7 minutes? No. But try and get some thoughts down because the next step is that we are going to go into breakout rooms for, at this point, maybe about a 7-minute discussion where you're just going to choose one reflection to share with the group and inshallah maybe be able to add to your own reflections as you listen to others. So I'm going to add a timer to my slide deck that's going to show the 7 minutes. I will give a 1-minute warning before the 7 minutes are done and ask you all to close your, to step away from your reflections and come back to our page, to our presentation when we're done with those 7 minutes.
And can you show us one more time how we get to the page where you type in your information to get to the curriculum?
Yeah, thank you, Katie, for asking. So in the chat, Katie, we have pasted this link that says https://docs.google.com. And I'm going to actually paste this one more time here. Okay. When you click on this link in the chat, Katie, it's going to open up a, it stopped my sharing when I did that. It's going to prompt you to click copy.
Yeah, so I got the copy one pulled up. The one that I didn't see where you clicked for us to pull it up was when you're on the medicineandislam.org website, where do you go to explore the curriculum? Like you were typing in like your name and institution, everything.
Where did I get to that? Okay.
Yeah.
If you scroll down, you should be able to, of course, now I have access, but if you're on home, you go to home, right? That's where you came in.
Okay.
It's on the
No, sorry, that wasn't it.
curriculum. If you go to
Yeah, it's on the
curriculum
curriculum,
topics
sorry.
and then scroll down, you'll see the different units. And then you click on those, put your information, and then download.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, under curriculum topics.
Yeah.
And then you click
You scroll down to
on
the bottom.
So yeah, on this first page where we've linked it, if you click on any of these unit contents, it's going to prompt you to enter in your information. And
okay,
then
perfect. That sounds good.
All right, guys, this is important. That's good. If anyone has any questions, let me know. We're starting at, let's say 9:10. So you have 6 minutes. I know it's not a lot of time, but it's just to get you started on this. 6 minutes to go in and start exploring and type up some different observations. Is anyone confused? If you are, raise your hand. Your virtual hand. Okay, let me add that timer.
I get a message saying couldn't download. Should I try another lesson or something? Or...
Which one is that, Doctor? Can you put it in our chat?
Okay, just a second.
That way we'll be able to investigate it. But yeah, definitely try a different one too.
Gosh, I have so many windows open.
We'll try and have our conversation on chat just so we're not interrupting other people's thinking, Dr. Najib, but definitely let us know and feel free to like try a different one. Inshallah, that if there is one though, we want to know so we can fix it. Okay, 1 minute warning. All right. Thank you all so much for participating in that. I hope that that was beneficial. Now, I know some people may have come in after we began that activity. They might have been confused with that quiet there. So we were just trying to have our own time to explore the curriculum. And now what we're going to do actually, and this is really exciting, I think for me, one of the really exciting things about this professional development is that we're joining from all over the world. We've got several people from Australia, Pakistan, the United States, and many other places around the world. So right now, when we go into breakout rooms, you're going to have an opportunity to be speaking with each other. Unfortunately, I apologize, we don't have time for introductions. We're going to have to get right into it. We'll have just 5 minutes to share a reflection. I'm going to put 4 people in every breakout room. I'm strongly requesting that you please turn on your videos if you are able to. If you're not, that's okay. When you get into the chat, this is the protocol. Put in the chat, when you get into the breakout room, put into the chat your name and where you are in the world and what your role is. That way, we won't have to use that time speaking to share that information as much as it's super interesting. And then we're going to ask you to stick to just one reflection each to share with the group. And the idea is that even though there's not much of a conversation that's possible in 5 minutes with 4 people, I might actually do 6 minutes. What we're hoping is that you get insight into other people's thinking. And inshallah, that can be illuminating. So feel free to kind of take notes and reflect, add to your reflections at that time. So we're going to create breakout rooms now. You will be randomly assigned 4 people. So we've got 40 people. So I'm going to create 10 breakout rooms, actually 9, 8. Okay, so there might be 5 or 4. And we're going to have a timer. Now, when you get that timer that shows that message that shows that the breakout rooms are closing in 1 minute, you will have that full minute to complete. Don't try and leave your breakout room there. That's just kind of like a warning for you to wrap it up, and then the breakout room will automatically close and you'll all be gathered back here together. I'm asking for everyone, please try and participate. Be brief in your reflections, inshallah, and just one reflection per person about what you noticed, any one of those questions that you were working on in the document, or just a generic reflection on the curriculum as you got to explore. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We are now going into breakout rooms. Inshallah, I will repost those directions in the chat that will come out to all of you all. Thank you. See you all in 6 minutes, inshallah. Okay, breakout rooms have been assigned. Go ahead and join them, inshallah. And if the co-hosts don't mind, we can just pop into people's rooms and just kind of take a listen if you are available. Lisa, for example, you and I can do that, inshallah. I'm going to broadcast the message. Okay, Homa, and if the other person could please rename themselves, not sure, or tell me how to pronounce that. We do need you to join a breakout room. So I'm going to assign you to a breakout room where we're just sharing reflections on our observations of the curriculum. If you didn't get a chance to observe it, then please quietly listen while others are speaking. 6 on here. That's 2. Oh, did I not? All right. Brother Osama, did you get to access the curriculum?
Um, honestly, I was able to open up the curriculum, but I'm having trouble downloading.
Oh,
Every time you hit the download, it downloads, but it doesn't open up. Like the PowerPoints, the lesson plans, like I'm able to open it up, but I can't like make copies for myself or that kind of thing.
I'm really sorry about that. Okay, so we'll have to look into that, Brother Osama. I know, did anyone have success? I'm hoping some people had success looking at it. Those of you who are here in this chat and in the main room right now. What was your experience looking at the curriculum? Sister Homa, did you get to look? Nahid? Tayyiba? Sidra? Anyone else? Sister Homa, how was your experience?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
I just went through this curriculum and I was on chapter 2
Mhm.
and it was quite good. But there is one question in my mind. Actually, I think you people are more like I am a teacher of grade 5.
Okay. Yeah, and so
Yeah.
Sister Homa, this is for high school, as we
Yes.
did mention. Yeah. So that'll be something interesting for you to, probably share
Yes.
with us. Are you finding it useful? Unfortunately, we do have to, I think the breakout rooms have now closed. People are joining back. We will have to jump into the next part, but I hope that that was something that got your
Yes, inshallah.
thinking around
Inshallah.
it. But yeah, definitely, Sister Homa, it is a high school curriculum, as you can see, very
Indeed.
advanced thinking and,
Yes, exactly.
really application of different
MashaAllah.
knowledge and stuff. Assalamu alaikum, welcome back. Oh my goodness, can we do a group selfie? Sorry, but Dr. Asim has to jump in now. We are so excited to have his. But for those of you who are on, look at this, mashallah. Are you ready for your smiles? Everybody's fixing their hijabs. Okay, ready, guys? Miss Asma, let's see you. Okay, everybody here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Smile. Aisha, are you there? Okay, smile. Homa, come on. All right, let me get what's group 2. Okay, we got some people here in group 2. This is our selfie, you guys. Smile, Tayyiba. Okay, Jazakallah khair. All right, well, thank you all so much. We don't have an opportunity, we don't have time to talk about this right now all together, but definitely if you had any questions, any technical problems, send us a message here in the chat. Myself, send me a direct message so that we can look into that, inshallah. I know that a number of people were able, however, to get into it, and I hope that you were able to share some thoughtful reflections in the group as short as the time was. At this time, I'm really excited to invite Dr. Asim, who has led this entire project. He's the principal investigator and this is his brainchild, mashallah, and to introduce him so that he can really get into one of the units with you all. It's going to be interactive. We have some questions and polls for you, but I want to first introduce the organization that he leads, the Initiative on Islam and Medicine, in addition to many other hats that he wears. So the Initiative on Islam and Medicine is a leading research center at the intersection of Islam and biomedicine. They produce groundbreaking scholarship that impacts the lives of Muslim patients, healthcare providers, and religious leaders using an innovative approach that draws insights from a diverse set of disciplinary experts from across the theological, social, and biomedical sciences. As a platform for impactful research, tailored education, and creative dialogue, IINM's focus on improving the health of Muslim Americans and IINM's focus is on improving the health of American Muslims in particular and developing an academic multidisciplinary field of Islamic bioethics that can be accessible across the world, as you all are noticing. And specifically about Dr. Asim Padella, Dr. Asim Padella is an emergency medicine physician and bioethics scholar focused on advancing health equity through research at the intersection of medicine, ethics, and religion. He serves as vice chair for research and emergency medicine at the Medical College of Wisconsin and leads the Initiative on Islam and Medicine, which I just shared with you. Dr. Padella's work covers patient-centered research, faith-based public health messaging, clinical ethics, and Islamic theology. His extensive academic background includes an MD, MSc, and fellowship in clinical ethics. He's also authored over 150 scholarly articles and books on Islamic bioethics, including Maqasid al-Sharia and Biomedicine, published just last year. Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Asim, for joining us and taking time out of your busy schedule to be here.
It's my pleasure. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. It is actually you all who are taking time out of your busy schedule. This is evening time for us, so we're just participants in free time, so to speak. Barakallahu feekum, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu rasulullah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi man wala. Can you all see my screen? I am trying to share.
No, okay, yeah. It's just
No?
coming up now.
Good. You let me know, because I know I'm all yes.
It says you started screen sharing, but there it is. Yes.
Okay. So Alhamdulillah, I know that Dr. Shaza mentioned that you all should be on your videos. I will suggest that for now, for the moment, you don't have to be, only because I'm worried about the bandwidth that I have in my house, and now that I'm sharing. So I'm giving you the permission for part of my talk. There will be times for engagement, but if you don't need to have your video on, if you don't want to, you don't have to have it on. So I was tasked to walk you through one part of the four-part curriculum, but before I do that, I would like to kind of set up the context. You've probably got this last time when Dr. Omar Qureshi and Dr. Rola Yunus spoke about the science and religion sort of divide. But from a perspective of someone who's a practicing physician, I will want to note that really our entire professional field is influenced by this divide, right? Where we learn implicitly or through the hidden curriculum that science is about empiricism. It is the zone of rationality, and makes universal claims. While on the other hand, religion, where it might reside, is in the land of superstition, one based on beliefs, right? You have to take a leap of faith, for example. Even that terminology suggests that it's beyond rationality, and that those claims are particular to particular people, right? That there is this notion that religion is particular, so we have come up with the term spirituality, which might be universal. Nonetheless, this divide influences, as I said, our entire field, both as a line of inquiry, but also in our practices. And you'll see some of that when I get into the specific transhumanism seminar we're going to talk about. Now, you might say, okay, that's fine. This is sort of, some might say, even the curriculum is inflected with a Christian notion of science versus religion conflict. Muslims don't have that. But if you think about global healthcare education, even in our Muslim lands, this is in Bahrain, this is Weill Cornell Qatar. I'm an alumni of Cornell. This is over there in the Johns Hopkins. That what we have is educational imperialism. Education is delivered through a cultural paradigm. And the paradigm of medicine, medical education, or pre-medical education is largely borrowed from institutions from the so-called West. And not only do they teach us how to do science and how to practice medicine, but they tell us how to resolve conflicts when religion and science are at odds or at loggerheads, right? So there is this notion, not my term, but a mentor's of mine, that there is missionary bioethics happening here, right? That we're going to teach you how to use principles and lay off those scriptural texts which cause conflict. So that inflects the entire way, the habitus in sometimes of how physicians think about things. So it will be, for those who are in the Pakistani context, some of you are, you'll recognize that divide, right? Where physicians are on one side and you have ulama on the other side, and the twain shall not meet. And this is very problematic for the practice of medicine. So that's the context I was actually speak about. There's another context from the Muslim paradigm where we either read science and biology into the Quran, or we try to read science and biology outside of the Quran. And there's many ways to think about that, eisegesis or exegesis. But I will say that there is a problem with that paradigm either way, right? That the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to us has, or ma farata fi kitabillahi shay', like He has not left anything out. But eisegesis or exegesis can have problematics in both sides. So that is the context. I wanted to give you that flavor and just take it on faith from me as a practitioner who is long in tooth and white-haired, that is the case. But I will tell you that our curriculum addresses this by trying to focus on the human being, which is at the center of medical practice, right? Actually, it is the fundamental existential questions around the human being that we're tackling in this 20-hour curriculum, which can be modified for a semester-long or even a year-long course. You heard about that I'm not going to spend more time on that piece. I will say that I would offer one way to think about this, particularly this curriculum is not just for high school students, it is for undergraduate, and I would dare say even medical students, that there is like opportunity for convergence between the realms of bioscience and Islam, right? Religion and bioscience both offer and they inform understandings of what health is, what is illness, what is healing, and what is cure, right? They impact, and we know this through a lot of empirical data, they impact the health and the healthcare seeking behaviors of patients. And they influence the healthcare decisions both physicians and patients make. But as science, as knowledge domains, they address fundamental human queries, and that's the focus, that's the register that this curriculum's at, where they're providing explanations about phenomena and they're answering the question of the human end. Yet they involve differing epistemic and ontological frameworks. That is why the core of our curriculum, as Professor Qureshi presented last time, is an epistemic framework that is rooted in rational Islamic epistemology. So that's the framework. You have all of this. I'm going to ask you now, and I think I'll need Dr. Shaz's help. But this is the specific seminar for human enhancement that I'm going to speak about shortly. I'll give you a brief didactic around what we did in the classroom and walk you through that. But we have some questions, and we'd like to put them on some screen for you to look at and answer.
All right, so I'm going to begin. We've got a few different questions here. We're going to start with the first one. Let's see, it's going to launch as a poll. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, so Dr. Asim, do you want to, oh, sorry. Okay, I'm going to close that one. Sorry, that shows you everything. Or does it?
No, it does not. It sees, I'm
Oh,
looking
okay,
at,
okay.
it says choose the type of evidence claim the following.
Okay, let me do that. Let me
Yes.
do that. Oh, is it still there?
It's there. I see it. I can stop
No,
sharing
but
it.
I ended it. Sorry, hold on, you guys.
I'll stop sharing. There you go.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. How do I close this? Relaunch poll. Let's see. We'll clear this one. Don't answer this one. Yeah, you guys, I don't think you need.
There you go.
Okay, there we go.
So these are the three questions you'll see. I want to ask you just to think about them for a minute through the epistemic framework. But this is the question. This is pre-test, so to speak, right? So these are claims. You'll see this is one claim, human immortality is achievable. I'd like you to answer whether that claim comes from an empirical, revelatory, or rational source. And then the second question is going to be rate the level of certainty for the claim, right? So the first is which source, second is certainty. And since we don't have that much time, try to be as quick. I'm not asking you to think deeply, just put something there. What comes to mind first?
You guys see that poll? I don't see anybody's answered anything. They're very.
I don't see anything answers either.
Okay, there we go. We got somebody who's brave. All right. So what is the type of evidence claim in that first question, that human immortality is achievable? Is it empirical, revelatory, or rational? And then how certain are we about that claim? Is it definitive or probable? Little bit of the problem is, Dr. Asim, that Dr. Qureshi didn't go into all of this yet.
Okay. Well, so the third, so this is good. This is just an exercise for you to think about it. But then you see the third question comes, is there overlap or conflict, right? So this is how you work through the curriculum in the sense that we want the students to be able to answer this first question. Which source is this claim from? Science and religion make truth claims. Then we want them to think, right? Well, if you're making that truth claim, what kind of certainty do you have for that truth claim from the domain of that truth claim? So is it definitive? If it's a scientific claim, is it definitive? If it's a rational claim, is it definitive? Or if it is a scriptural claim, is it definitive? And then you see the third question. We'll end up on a second. The third question, is there overlap and conflict, I should say overlap or conflict?
Yeah, sorry.
Or conflict. So, right, that is the essential question, whether these two bodies of knowledge can be integrated, there's overlap, or there's conflict. So you can stop this poll, but I want you, at the end of my talk, we're going to put this poll up again, and I want you to think of whether or not you can answer those questions, right? That's the goal. And we're going to do it in an abbreviated fashion, but the students would have gotten a 3-hour seminar, right? So we're going to do this in 30 minutes. So you're all expert learners, inshallah, and I speak very fast. So we'll see how this works. So let me go back to sharing my screen. All right. So Bismillah. So let's get going. So the seminar is this seminar 4. You'll find the module on that website that you're looking at. And the question for us is human enhancement, transhumanism. Are we changing or should we change our being? This is particularly important for the future of medicine. So I might say, so what I'm going to go through, I'm going to speak through some of the teaching points. I'll stop in a while, but I'm going to give you what the students would hear, right? So you get a sense of what's happening. So I would start here and say, well, we might think that this type of entity, which some of us who watched movies, this is from I think Superman and some universe, but nonetheless, that the cyborgs are a thing of the future, right? Science future, or this might not ever happen. It's fantastical. But there was Kevin Warwick, who was called Captain Cyborg, right? This is in the 1980s and 90s, who actually was able to control a synthetic arm outside of his body with an implanted chip. And he was known as Captain Cyborg. And he did many other experiments of that like, where he was the first, one would say the first cyborg. We might say that movies like this, The Titan, where they're doing genetic manipulation so that we can live off of Earth because we've made the Earth uninhabitable, is something of the future or not, is fantastical, right? That won't happen. However, we have this individual today, right, who has been spending, as you see, $4 million so far. He's a billionaire, to make him not age anymore, right? So in this habitus, he is now trying to be an individual through genetic manipulation of his own genes and some other supplemental sort of treatments to not age. And he says actually that we can live to 200 based on current science. So these things are not of science future, but they're the science of today, right? So the question and the context that we're talking about in this seminar, the one that I'm teaching now, is related to the last seminar, seminar 3, where we're talking about what we are. So if biomedical interventions change our body, the question then becomes, are we slowly transforming ourselves into something beyond the human species? The individual who's Captain Cyborg, or the individual millionaire who's stopping aging, are we then moving beyond what is the human species biologically, right? From a human being to a transitional human, that's transhumanism, to a post-human, right? Something beyond the species. And are doctors, physicians, unwittingly, or maybe wittingly, contributing to this future by the things that they do in their daily practices? For us, those who are Muslims, and the question might be, if this is the case, are there moral limits Muslims should be aware of? Are we, as a society, desiring or promoting a future that God warns us against? Is there a notion of changing our being that Islam validates, right? And this is the flow of the seminar. We're going to answer these questions through the didactics that are presented, and we're going to have conversations about these sorts of topics, and we want students to leave having some stake in answering these questions. So the learning objectives of this particular seminar, that comes as the 4th seminar, right? So it's the one in the middle, right? Is to identify the key components of transhumanist ideology, to discern transhumanism-based narratives within popular media. A key feature of this curriculum is that we are not just talking to people. We want them to engage, and you will see, I'm going to model it a little bit, that there are narratives embedded within the media that we consume. You all know this as educators, but for those who are not educators, sometimes that's really interesting, right? There are narratives that we have to think about and deconstruct or construct up for our students. We want them to distinguish between Islamic theological perspectives on human enhancement, its purposes, and the prevailing secular bioscientific views, and then apply this epistemic framework, right? The scriptural and scientific concepts that we're going to talk about to evaluate the uses of biotechnology to change the body. So here comes the second poll for you all, just to think about. These are the key concepts within the seminar. These 3 bioscientific ones, and these 3, or you might say 4, Islamic ones. So Shaza, can you put that poll up?
So I've just launched the poll, and we're going to give you guys, 30 seconds to describe. I know some of you went ahead and started doing this in the last poll I did, so that we launched. So here you have, how comfortable are you defining transhumanism? How comfortable are you defining human enhancement? So we want you to go ahead and click on that, guys.
On a
And
scale
we'll,
from 0 to 5, so 0 being, not comfortable, 5 being very comfortable.
Do you mean comfortable as in like comfort, or comfortable as in like knowledgeable?
Like teaching. So this is you would teach this concept.
Like how well do you know this concept?
Yes. All right.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you meant comfortable as in like you're uncomfortable to talk about these things.
oh,
Oh.
okay, no. Defining it like to your students.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you feel like you can't define it, then you're gonna hit 0. If you feel
Okay, I
like
got
you
you.
can define
Yeah, I
that.
got you. I mean, I was thinking knowledgeable. When I think comfortable, I think you mean like you're uncomfortable to talk about it.
All right, so we got 14%, 20% of people who in this room who've participated. Let's get it to 25 and then I'll close the poll and share it with y'all. All right. Okay, I know we've got a lot to go over, so I'm gonna go ahead and end that poll. 3, 2, 1. All right, we got 42% who did it, 50 almost. All right, so I'm gonna share the results right here. I hope you all can see that on your
So-
screens.
Yeah, so it looks like 2 is the median response for transhumanism, so not very comfortable. Human enhancement, you guys are more on the more comfortable side than that. Disease, oh, really good, 53%. Okay, and now you feel very comfortable. Well, I want to hear about that after the end of my talk. And then there's some other questions that you shouldn't have answered yet, but you did. So is
Sorry.
ACL, it's okay. Is ACL repair enhancement or treatment? You will, Shaza, take those notes. You can tell me later when we're at that stage in this talk. All right, inshallah. Okay. All right. So I'll continue on. Bismillah. So the seminar proceeds in this sort of way. We give an introduction and orientation to transhumanism. I'm going to try, and I'll ask permission, but we'll see if we can or cannot do that. Then we have a didactic on biomedical intervention and biological futures. I'll do that now for you. Well, then another didactic on revelatory insight into enhancing our beings and human features. So I will go through that lesson with you as well in a very truncated fashion. Then the students, right? So they are now put into groups where they have an exercise, a video recasting, and moral deliberation of a clinical case. I'll show those to you as well. We're not going to do that together. If we had more time, we would have you all do that. But the point is that the seminar, right, is about orientation, tell them about the concepts, then have didactics, but have group activities. So a mixed sort of modality of teaching. This is the first video. Now, Shaza, I don't know if I play it, will they hear it? Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, if you click share, if when you click share, you do, let's try it. And then otherwise I'll guide you through how to unshare and then share with the sound. You have to keep yourself unmuted.
Okay. Because it's going to load on a different screen. So let's
Oh,
see.
is it?
Oh, well, let me share that screen then. Hold on.
And when you hit share, then yeah, just make sure you optimize for sound. That's an option.
Right. Sorry. So you want me to share the other screen? Yeah, I can. It says low system resources.
Oh,
So-
great. Okay, let me see. You sent it to me in the chat, so let me find it.
I did, yeah. Because
All right. Loading, I'm gonna hit my share, and I'm gonna share the sound. I'm gonna go to transhumanism. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
The A to Z transhumanism. Most of us would consider the end of
What? Did I close the button?
most of us would consider
Oh, why did my screen sharing close?
I can see your screen, but then it's not playing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why. Weird.
Oh, if you could maximize your screen, Shaza, you're seeing all the ads and stuff on the side.
There are some, however, who will not only rejoice at it, but want to hasten the day it arrives. Transhumanists look forward to a future in which Homo sapiens is superseded by a better, smarter, fitter model. Improvement, any species that causes huge
Okay.
damage to our environment can't feed itself. even though it has enough food, and fights
countless wars costing millions of
must surely benefit from an intelligence upgrade.
So we're having some technical
All
difficulties.
right.
diminishing
Yes.
health and vitality, often accompanied by a drop-off in cognitive capacity. 1 in 3 people are expected to get dementia. Is this really the best we can hope for? Transhumanists think not. Aging could be stopped and even reversed. Enhancements could dramatically raise our IQs and make us stronger and fitter. We might even be able to leave our fragile bodies behind, living forever in virtual worlds. Improving humanity through science and technology could radically change us. Such a new beginning would in effect be the end of humanity as we know it. Many transhumanists see this as not only desirable but inevitable. The scientist and futurist Ray Kurzweil believes we are approaching what he calls the singularity, the point at which computers become smart enough to learn for themselves, after which they will rapidly become smarter and smarter. The future belongs to artificial intelligence. The only way for humanity to survive is to embrace it and become wholly or partially artificial ourselves. The thought of being replaced by a new form of humanity is bound to be unsettling. But transhumanists think we would be wrong to lament the end of humanity as we know it, when what replaces us would be so much better. It would be like wishing children never grew up, or that Homo erectus never evolved into Homo sapiens. If the transhumanists are right, we could be one of the last generations of humans to roam the planet.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
watching. Don't forget to subscribe.
I'll go back to sharing my screen. So students would see videos like that, which are short clips of videos that exist in the internet. And I hope you got a sense, despite our technical difficulties, of kind of just walking through the concept from what is available in the popular media. You can see my screen. We're good, right, Shada? Yeah. Okay. So we would have that. So I told you there are multiple concepts, right? So we went through one. It's just 2-minute clip. You'll see others in the module set. So then in the way this works, in this case, I give a talk, which is this one, which I'll give you in a second. Before Sheikh Hamza Karam Ali, who's not here, would have given the second talk. Well, I'll give both for him. So now we'll talk about those concepts, the other concepts. So I asked you all in that poll, and it seemed like everyone was very comfortable thinking about the relationship between doctors and diseases. So oftentimes when I give this seminar and I talk to students, they say, the first thing that comes up, if you had that sort of, family feud, the first thing that comes up is cure and treat, right? The doctors are supposed to treat or cure diseases. The second thing that often comes up is this other motif of combating or eliminating diseases. That doctors combat or eliminate disease. That's their goal. That's their ethos. What often doesn't come up as much is doctors define diseases. But I'm going to argue that that is the case, right, in many ways. That we have already a society, and this is a book, Better Than Well, Carl Elliott, right, that American medicine meets the American dream, that medicine, biomedicine, is used to affect changes in the human being based on cultural paradigms of what that human being should be about and what it is. And that at one time, that is the first book is a modern one. This one is an older one, the 1960s or so, Paul de Kruif, right? And this is the time when penicillin came about, and he wrote a series of books about what medicine was going to offer us. And his caricature, one of his books, was the Men Against Death, right? That's what doctors are. They're men against death. The former book before that was Microbe Hunters, as you see. So that was the dominant motif, the dominant narrative of what physicians are about. And this influenced the way in which medical curricula and even our own professional vision of our identities as we move forward. So I said to you, defining disease, right? So let me go through and talk about what disease might be. Well, there are several terms that are related, but are non-overlapping terms that are related to this notion of disease. The first really easy one is disease, dis-ease, right? The ease is defined by the subject. And the goal is to remove that being ill at ease, right? So someone is ill at ease, that's defined by the subject, and physicians should then work to remove that disease. A second notion would be disability. right? Here, the definition is based on the subject that there's some sort of level of ability I'd like, or society. There's some sort of level of abilities that people should have in society. And any threshold less than that, right, requires us as a profession to move people up so that they get to that level, either defined by the subject or society or both together. Hence disability, right? So many of us think about our masajid and having on-ramps for individuals of different types of abilities. Or disorder. Here now, this is defined in a sense by society tied to functioning, right? So if there's a certain type of order, both socially, people should have. So when you are moved and not having that sort of functionality, think about certain diseases that happen in children, young ages, who are taught to be very hyperactive in the classroom. So there's a certain type of order that's necessary in society. If you have some disorder to that and you're contributing to that disorder, then you have some sort of disease. That's the label that's applied to you, or dysfunction. Now, this might be the most, one might say, most grounded in biology, that there's some sort of abnormality or impairment or deviation from norms that biology tells you about physiology or social behavior. And then when you're not able to have that functionality, you are diseased. So 53% of you who did the poll said that you were very comfortable talking about disease. I hearken to say, would you say give this definition? Or these somewhat overlapping, but not mutually sort of the same definitions of disease. So the point would be then when we think about therapy and enhancement, right? That there would be, this is the students would have an exercise to do, and I want to tell you what these things are, and you can think about it. We don't have, the poll was already done, I think. So we won't go open that again. But this is an ACL repair, right? The first one. And I would like you to think about, just in your mind for a minute, whether that is a therapy, something that physicians do, or is that an enhancement of the human being? The second is LASIK surgery, right? So now you're going in, correcting the, or let's say shaving off part of the cornea so people can return to a certain type of visual acuity. And the third here would be sort of taking supplements for brain function. Known science, as you see, are scientifically formulated to improve brain function. Right? So science meets innovation. You can get this on Amazon. And would you take supplementation? So is this now enhancement? The dividing line, I'm not going to ask you, the dividing line between these things is not as black and white as you would think, right? And I can complicate that in our time. I'm not going to do that fully, but I'm going to give you a sense of what that sort of looks like. So typically in the physician's sort of bioethical community, we think about therapy enhancement and we think about different ways in which we would draw this dividing line. The first one would be medical practice versus non-medical practice. Whatever doctors and allied health professionals do, that is medicine, that is therapy. What they don't do is enhancement. So that is bounded in what we have as a social contract decided is what we're going to do and we're licensed for, right? So I'll give you an example. There are things in the United States that you cannot do, right? But if you were to go abroad, you can do as a physician and you're licensed to do. So this would mean that each society would have a different social contract, and a physician in one place could be considered to doing enhancement, but another is therapy. Or another differentiation, another line is restoring to normal function versus augmenting function. So if something, and what functioning here means really defined by society, right? Social functioning here. If something creates equality of opportunity, then that's a therapy. If you augment that, right, you create disparities here. That is not that's enhancement. So an example here might be someone who has bionic legs, right? Where now you can run faster, but that's enhancement versus therapy. Or another line would be treatments address maladies while enhancements target normal function, meaning that the person, the individual, the state of being that you're addressing here is someone who has a deficiency in function or has normal function. If they have deficiency in function, then that's therapy. If they have normal function, that's enhancement. So these are dividing lines that are often offered in bioethics courses around therapy enhancement, but they're gray. They don't really fully add up. And as I mentioned, they're grounded in different sorts of authority structures, society or professions themselves, and they can be vary across different geographic lines. I'm going to give you an example. This is what we go through in the seminar. So these are three individuals who have differing height, Now, if you think about the height, and I can't see the chat, so I apologize. I'm just going to go through this pretty quickly. This is the a schematic here, a graph of human height for the last 100 years. Well, this is dated now, but as you see here, that there is a increase in human height, males and females both, but they obviously have different levels of height. And if you look at different countries, you'll notice that that trajectory largely holds true, right, the same way that people are increasing in height. Now, if you think about the human being as increasing height, I'm sure you're going to say that there are different reasons for that. Health is improving, people are not malnourished, so on and so forth. But the point would be that there is scientific data here now to suggest that human height is continuing to increase. If you look at that distribution, it is different for men and women, right? Maybe you would argue that there are different biological limits and constraints upon the height of a man versus the height of a woman. Now, I'm going to say that might be true, that's scientific data, but we can turn that into a sort of disease. How so? This is a chart of human height of a child. And you might see this used all the time for those of our parents, right? This is a growth curve. And your pediatrician goes through that all the time. And at the early stages of the life, you see here from 2 to 20, you plot the weight and the height, the stature of the child, and you see that the green line in terms of stature, someone's going off the curve here. Those curve lines are 90th percentile, 75th percentile, 50th, and so on and so forth. So now you have a norm in society. I mentioned to you in the previous slide, different normal curves in Turkey versus the United States. But if you go off that curve, it's called going off the chart. And then we have to do interventions, right? So here is a disease state that's defined, right? There might be many reasons why someone gets off that growth curve, but this is idiopathic, short stature. A disease that is defined that we have no biological understanding of why the person is 2 standard deviations below the height everybody else is at, right? Biology is making a claim that it doesn't know. Yet that leads to kind of some questions about what we should do. Well, we don't know why they're short, but they're short. So what does that mean for our individual society? This is a large study in the UK. You can see almost 120,000 people. But let me tell you what that study and other studies show. Taller men have higher levels of mean education and higher incomes. That's a correlation, right? If you're taller, better education, that could be related to higher incomes. We know that shorter kids are prone to bullying, and that has can have long-term psychological impacts, right? And if you're a shorter man or a taller woman, well, less romantic prospects. So there are social reasons why people should be of a certain height. And if you were to say that medicine is instantiated in a social cultural paradigm within a society, one might say these are harms or benefits, right, of being too tall or too short. And so we should apply the profession of medicine to help that. And that's what we do. Here, this is from an article in the New England Journal of Medicine, that we, as a profession of medicine, right, are able to give children biological treatments, hormones, to increase their height at a certain age. Now, you see here psychological benefit or harm. What do you see in that column? All uncertain. But we are licensed to do so. We can do so, and we do so when the parent wants us to do so. So biomedicine and diseases are constructed socially and culturally. Some of them are, more or less all of them are, but some are more clearly seen than others. So the main points in this sort of lecture are the fact that diseases are rarely defined. Bioscience can define a disease based on the idea of a normal spectrum of physical, social attributes and assess harms of them or abnormality. And then biomedicine develops treatments to address that dysfunction. Human bodies are changing, normality changes over time and space, and that claim is empirical proposition based on the data I showed you. We would show the students the same data, and it's empirical proposition, sorry, based on probabilistic knowledge. Okay, I want to do the two parts together. We'll take questions in a second. But if you digested that, that's what the students will be asked to think about. I did it in a very abbreviated way. There have been some interaction with the students, but now I want to take you through the second. And these videos of the real teaching of myself and Sheikh Hamza are online on the website, and you are free to borrow those and show them and play them on when you're teaching the class. But the second part, and this is truncated as well, of that lecture of the didactic would be this, right? Revelatory insights into enhancing our being and human futures. Sheikh Hamza put this together. And so first we'll talk about an Islamic view. We talked about bioscience, we talked about this notion of therapy enhancement, we talked about what is disease and what is not disease. But let's think about that from a scriptural lens. And we know that in the Quran, Allah subhanahu says, Ibrahim al-Islam is reported to have said in the Quran, right? That when I am ill, it is He, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who cures me. And we have other ahadith, these are sahih hadith, around this notion, that Allah does not send down, da'a is the word used, that's why it's read here. Malady would be a good translation, except that He has also sent down for it shifa, it's cure, or it's healing. But I think cure is a better translation for this sense. But there are many other hadith, similar wording here. Again, the idea that it's just God-centric. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who cures. He's the one who allows for disease or sends down disease or illness or a malady for a human being. And that Rasulullah said in the hadith here, Tadawu ibadullah, right, that he gives the command here in the Arabic, as you all know, seek, right, treatment. And then the back end of that hadith has the same sort of wording, but this time da and shifa are used, right? So illa haram, except for old age. So again, the commandment or the advice, as some fuqaha would say, to go seek medical treatment. So the whole idea of treatment, illness, disease is, in this sense, God-centric, right? That there is a pietistic cosmology within which the human being is engaging with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the malady that He sent down, and then God sees how one is dealing with that malady and is in control of the outcome of that malady. So we're engaging with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, the physician is involved at times, but that's just one path, right? It is not the only path through which one can attract divine intention to be restored to health, or perhaps not restored to health. And the disease might find its seat within the mind, the body, or the soul, depending on how we think about the human being, which would have been in the previous seminar. So when we are talking now about transhumanism and we're talking about the practice of medicine, there are other verses in the Quran that perhaps indicate to us how we should think about this notion of transhumanism. This is one verse. You can read it. And the students would be asked, what does this tell us about transhumanism? So the answer would be, and we don't have time to engage, so I know I'm running over time here. But that this enticement towards immortality, right, which is what transhumanism is about, or one part of transhumanism is about, is to get rid of the impediments, the biological impediments for human beings to live interminably. That this is something that Shaitan, right, enticed our father, Prophet Adam alayhi salam in about, right? That it wasn't that he was, it was that he would become one who lives forever. And you think about in Jannah. So this is not, this advice or this notion or this deception came from a satanic source. So when we think about those individuals and those of us who want to live forever in this world, we have to think about where that source, what that means, and who we're becoming, or who we're becoming like, right? So, and then we go through, and Sheikh Hamza goes through this notion of what is the life of the human being, that we were once souls without bodies, and you see the verses here. Then, right, this is when we did the ahad of alast, and then we are in this life where we know the hadith tells us that that our souls are breathed into the human womb at a certain stage. And then our souls will separate. That's death, right? That they will separate from our bodies, and our bodies will decay in the grave, but then we'll be reunited in the resurrection and the mashal, right? So that this is how part of our lifespan, so to speak. And when we think about the human being as a soul and a body, or ensouled body, right? Together, they're double associate. The human is a soul and a body at the same time. that we need to think about our parts and what are we trying to enhance. So then what does it mean to make humans better if the human being itself is this double associate of a body and a soul at the same time? What does transhumanism offer us or medicine offer us? Is it going to improve our soul? Will we be able to make that human being better? Or is it part of that? And would that really mean better? And these are the questions that we ask, interrogative questions we ask the students to think about, again, in light of the scriptural text. And these are the scriptural texts that we present them, right? That there is a verse in the Quran where, again, Shaitan says, right, that I will ask them to change, right, the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So this taghyir khalqullah is embedded within, again, an enticement of Shaitan. And there are many different tafasir about what that specifically means, but the point, again, is what's the source of that enticement to human beings. We know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that we were created in the ahsan taqweem, the best of forms. So if we are the best of forms as a human being, insan here, right, the composite, can you truly enhance that being through whatever aspect, whatever machinations you want? We talk about the notion of immortality. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, "Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut." Again, many tafsir about what that nafs here means, but the point being that you will taste death, right? And the soul separates from the body, and that there is truly immortality in the other life. So again, to not overwhelm the students, we think about these verses and then have them have a conversation about what does this mean in light of what we heard about transhumanism. And then at the end of the seminar, again, Sajid, you don't have to put up the poll here. We then have them work through, and this is in the last seminar. So we do this in the seminar 4, in each seminar, but then at the end, when we have the review seminar, we go through these claims. You don't have to put that up. It's okay. We can talk about it for a second, I imagine. But right, are human beings' bodies changing? Then you see the type of evidence that comes from our empirical and revelatory, and what level of evidence, and then we talk about overlap and conflict. So I'll give you a sense that we go through those 3 questions, have the students, and this is what your task would be as a teacher and as an instructor, to have them think about it, have a conversation about it, become comfortable with those concepts, and then if there is tension, right, or overlap, discuss it freely. So to end our time, my portion here, I mentioned there are group activities, like for example, this one, right, where we have the students go through and look at clips, specific clips we've chosen, this again in the teaching modules and on the curriculum on the website, from these movies, Avatar, right, more timely, and this is Mandalorian, and they look at the clip, and then they're trying to recast that to make it more Islamic. I guess in Islamic schools, we want to be more Islamic, so what does that mean? And you will find for us, it was really interesting what they thought that meant, become more Islamic. But this is stuff they imbibe on the daily, right? And it is essential for us to be able to have them reconstruct what that would mean or deconstruct what it means, and then reconstruct up what that would mean for an Islamic sort of vision. And so we do that. And then we also go through this other exercise, which is more literary in nature, where they read something, right? This was CNN. It's about biohackers, and we have them think about one of these biohackers they profile, and whether they, as a physician, right? Because many Muslim students want to be physicians. Well, does this change an enhancement or therapy or alteration? And would they, as Muslims, partake and help people do that, right? As I mentioned, medicine is associated with a social and cultural paradigm of a society. So if the society says, I mean, we're doing culture wars on abortion, so on and so forth, but if they say, yeah, tomorrow you can go and break your legs and now make you taller, which is happening in Turkey, by the way, that was my shout out there, that you can't do breaking of legs in the United States because it's not part of our licensure, and then make someone taller, but in Turkey you can. And so this is what I mean, that society will decide the box within which you operate, and how will Muslim physicians deal with that. So I will end. Barakallahu fikum. I'm happy to take a couple questions if we have time, but Shaz will tell us.
Yeah, well, Dr. Azam, I feel like one thing that I've heard you say in different spaces, but like Dr. Najib, for example, is asking about organ donation, or previously he asked about like end of life circumstances. And I've heard you speak about this, that this curriculum doesn't necessarily give the answers. And I'd love for you to just have an opportunity to share that piece about what the curriculum does and does not do in that sense. related
Right,
to
so I want us to, I can speak that certainly. So those topics that we all think about, right, organization and all this other stuff is sort of at the level of ethical register, or legal register for us. What is, what do the fuqaha of the jurist say about XYZ? Now, I want you to understand what we're trying to do is build up students so they can ask intelligible questions of the fuqaha in the future, right? We're not talking about today. We want them to have lifelong skill sets to think about what is a manzoor Islami, right? What is the vision of Islam? Where is the things in society perhaps not concordant with that vision? And the way to do that is to give them a framework by which they can interrogate their own claims and what claims are being made in society, whether from a religious lens or a scientific lens. So then when they do become professionals, they know how to potentially think deeply about what they're doing. Right? Medicine today, I want to stop because I can go on, but medicine today is not just a technical craft, and this is what we teach our students, but rather it's a moral craft. It's a moral enterprise. And so the idea here is to get students to think about what you're doing as any profession. It's a moral undertaking. And to understand that morality, you must interrogate what's happening around you through what we're given to us. What are we given as human beings? This wiratha, right? This inheritance of the tradition through the Quran, the Hadith, and those who are the conveyors of that to us. So that's what we're trying to offer. And this is just one piece. I mean, it's a 20-hour curriculum, right? If we do it. So it is just one piece, but trying to open that and then give them some lifelong skill sets to be interested in engaging. Now, that's the idea, right? To open the box, not give them answers. So if you close off answers, here's the problem. So, and you didn't ask me, Shaza, but here's the problem. If I say today, XYZ is the case, right? Then it's possible that when a student engages with someone who's very sophisticated and nuanced, says, well, that was wrong, you will shake not only their thinking about Islam, but their entire being, right? Their identity. So the goal is not to give them their identity is caught up in intellectual thinking about the sources of knowledge and about the how we perceive the future, not in the position statement by so-and-so scholar or so-and-so today understanding. طيب ماشي good.
So it's a framework for thinking about emerging issues, and we're giving them the foundational knowledge to do that using these 5 essential questions that the units go over. Yes, Dr. Najib, giving them the tools, absolutely. Jazakumullah khairan, Dr. Asim, I know that you have to leave, really appreciate it. But as we're going to share at the end of this, this is not the end of your opportunity to be in conversation. Inshallah, we will have a professional learning community that will be hosted via WhatsApp, and we'll have at least 1 or 2 Zoom lives based on availability and all of that we'll determine later. So inshallah, you know, this is just the start. Thank you so much, Dr. Asim, for your engagement tonight.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. All right. MashaAllah, I really enjoy listening to all of that. It helps me think differently. And every single time I'm listening, I say, subhanAllah, like having that integrated Islamic perspective just broadens the way in which we think about so much of this. Inshallah, we'll have Sister Aisha, inshallah, join us again today to share a little bit more about how we can integrate this into our curriculum. We're 40 minutes to the end of our session. Sister Aisha has 15 minutes, and then after that, we're going to jump right into our action planning and then conclude for the day, inshallah. Sister Aisha, I believe that you are a co-host. Yes. Take it away.
Bismillah. All right, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum everyone again. Jazakallah khair for having us and for all of you sticking around. It's a long session, but inshallah I will try my best to keep it as quick as possible, but still to partake as much information as I can as well. So kind of building off of what Dr. Asim has mentioned, and our video seminar or like activity that we did last time about bioscience, we saw that bioscience claimed to cover every aspect of our lives, right? And we see in reality that there are many aspects that bioscience does leave out. And we were able to see some of that with Dr. Asim's presentation as well. So science curriculums usually talk about the human being in parts, right? Form and function, anatomy, physiology, and that's about it, but rarely address the human being as a whole, right? And this is what Dr. Asim was alluding to as well. And they don't discuss the very essence of what it means to be a human being. So this curriculum, the Exploring Bioscience in Islam curriculum, discusses the human being as a whole, right? Because it is rooted in Islamic epistemology framework. And it accounts for the human mind, body, and soul. So it's a specialized curriculum that has all of these elements within it. Now, when we're thinking about, so some of this I'm going to skip because alhamdulillah, you guys all had an opportunity to be able to go and explore on your own. And you'll see all of these elements that were within the curriculum. And on the website, you're able to see that this is an encompassing curriculum that has all of these things within it, right? So there are classroom activities that are sewn into the lessons, and then there are instructions that go along with all of those activities and how to conduct them. And they're adapted to meet the needs of the students in the classroom as well, right? The lessons, you will notice, are very scripted, so it's easy to implement. And there's a lot of additional resources that are there as well, again, to help not only the teacher have that background knowledge that is needed in order to teach, right? But also so that way it's easier for having resources to share with students who would like to enhance their understanding. Now, so moving forward, the way that we recommend Exploring Bioscience in Islam curriculum to be taught is as an elective, right? So the total instruction time for the entire course is, as Dr. Asim had mentioned as well, about 20 hours. So that's an average of about 23 class periods. Right? So if you look at this kind of scope and sequence, we would say that Unit 1, which is about epistemology, is 3 to 5 class periods. The next one about evolution and God's special creation, also 3 to 5 class periods. And similarly, we have neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and the soul. And again, as you can see, they're connected to a major question about the human being, right? What does it mean to be a human being? And we talk about neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and the soul, right? And as Dr. Asim mentioned, his section, which is Unit 4, the question about, are we changing the human being, or should we be changing the being of a human, right? Connects back to Unit 3, right? So again, lets you know how many class periods it might take, depending on whether you use all of the supplemental materials or not. So this part, again, Unit 5 would discuss fate and genetic determinism, and Unit 6 talking about science and theological inquiry about extraterrestrial life, right? And then, as Dr. Asim mentioned at the end of his seminar, he talked about how there is this kind of framework of answering these major questions and being able to apply what was learned, right? And that would be the epistemic framework, in which the entire curriculum is then put together in a summary form, and that's where students will be able to kind of see and gauge their learning. So that's the entire elective course, right? Similar to, as you've seen on the website, that's what the entire course looks like, and it has all of that material there for you. Now, if that's not a possibility in your Islamic schools, right? Islamic schools run in multiple different ways and have allotments of different things. And sometimes that might not be a possible avenue to take. And so therefore, the other opportunity is to integrate this curriculum into an existing biological course, right? And so majority of our schools, especially if we're high school teachers, then in 11th and 12th grade is where we would recommend this to be infused. But again, we're talking about a biology course wherever it is taught in high school. So you'll see here in this integration process, what I've done is the first column tells you the biology topic that is being mentioned, and then talks about the bioscience in Islam curriculum and how it can integrate, and then talking about the concepts that actually connect the two. Okay, so You'll see here in the list of biology courses, what we've done is we've actually taken a biology course that would be taught in the United States, and I've also aligned it with the NSW standards that are in Australia, because I know, alhamdulillah, many of our attendees today are from Australia. So to make that integration process a little bit easier. But again, if you aren't in either of those realms, then if you look at the highlighted in blue, that shows you what is the major topic, right, of biology that is being taught, and then what the bioscience in Islam curriculum can connect to. So just kind of running through this, you'll see that first and foremost, we would say that even before the biology course begins, you would teach the first unit, which is epistemology, right? And the various 3 lessons that come along with it. Now, again, because it is not taught in a typical biology course, we're going to say that this is an extension topic, but it does have within it scientific practices, right? That is being taught as well as practiced. Then, as biology courses are, right, you want to always have them interdisciplinary, right? That's how students understand better, as well as not keeping these topics so isolated, right? So as an interdisciplinary connection, we see that we can connect this unit to Islamic epistemology, right? Which is obviously one of the topics that is discussed here. And then obviously as an element of philosophy as well, right? Epistemology is a branch of philosophy as a whole. Now, running into chemistry of life, right? This is where you're going to talk about what biology actually is, right? How do we define living beings? So with that, you can connect to the bioscience topic, unit 2, which is evolution and God's special creation, and talk about the Islamic narrative of creation, right? And so in biology, when we're defining what living beings are, we can say, well, how are human beings defined as living things, and how are they defined differently than other human beings, right? We can also connect to the concept of abiogenesis, right? Where non-living matter became living matter, right? And that's their kind of the biology origin story, right? And compare and contrast that to an Islamic origin of life understanding. Moving on to cellular energetics, right? We would connect to unit 3 in the bioscience curriculum. And here we would talk about concepts that are related to neuroscience reductionism, right? We talked about scientists having their own ideas, right? That kind of drive their research, and how science is not necessarily neutral. We'll be able to see that in these lessons. And so that would connect to functioning of the brain, right? And again, the interdisciplinary aspects of it would be philosophy, right? This aspect of consciousness, of am I a person, and how do I define myself as a person, right? And obviously connect to Islamic studies, the concept of the soul, similar to what Dr. Asim had mentioned, right? The various elements of the soul and the journey that it goes through would be discussed here as well. And so again, connecting to the biology aspect of it, right? We would connect to functions of the brain, these neural correlates of consciousness, right? Brain functioning. How do we know that we have a conscious scientifically, right? Then moving on to unit 4, or cell communication and cell cycle. And as I mentioned, right, the NSW connection to Australian standards is there as well. So in year 11, right, module 1, you would be able to connect this to. And the unit here would be unit 3, where again, you'll see some of these repeat because because of the fact that we're integrating, there's various places in which you can place this, right? So this is just one example and kind of I would say the most natural way of fitting it in, right? And obviously, as you go through the lessons, you might find other places that it can connect to. So this would connect to, again, more neurons and neuron communication, right, within the brain, cell signal pathways. These are, again, that's how cells communicate with each other. We're talking about specifically in the brain. That connects to unit 3 here. And again, interdisciplinary concept of the soul, right, when we're talking about Islamic studies. Now, the extension topic here would be that usually artificial intelligence is not discussed within a biology course, right? And so that would be an extension topic, right? But again, we're connecting it to human consciousness, and how is that different or similar to artificial intelligence, Moving on, we see the biology topic of gene expression and regulation, right? We have a very fascinating unit on genetic determinism, right? Where we're talking about genes and how they function and regulate to the concept of qada and qadar, right? So this concept of determinism and free will. And so obviously that's going to be very interdisciplinary, where you really can focus on Islamic studies along with biology here. And again, talking about how certain genes are expressed, or how they turn on, turn off, and how does that relate to determinism as well as free will. Then we have this very popular topic of natural selection, and many of you have expressed your interest in finding out, how do I teach evolution to my students in the framework of an Islamic epistemology, right? And to allow them to be able to see, this is what we view in Islam when we're looking at evolution, right? So obviously this connects to genetics, the concept of evolution, biodiversity of life. We discussed phylogenetic trees within this curriculum, as well as taxonomy, right? We saw in the video that I presented in the last session that they assumed right away we are Homo sapiens, right? And this unit will really talk you through how that's not an accurate classification for human beings, right? Specifically through an Islamic lens. And then we show qat'i evidence of why that is not so. And then we have ecology, which is the last unit in most biology courses. And in that is where we would probably place what Dr. Asim had presented, right? Which is unit 4, enhancement and transhumanism. And the reason that would connect here is it would connect to aspects of disease and how populations are affected by disease, and then the impact on human society, right? And then the interdisciplinary aspect, again, connecting to Islamic studies, would be showing those revelatory evidences. And as you'll notice, similar to how Dr. Asim mentioned, all of these lessons will have revelatory evidences within them. Now, the last thing that I want to mention is that, so we've got one more unit left that we didn't cover, right? And so when we're looking at modern biology courses, right, we'll see that there's a few key aspects that are mentioned, right? Number one is that a typical or a very good, right, biology education or course would have interdisciplinary approaches, right? And so usually they'll integrate chemistry and physics and computer science and all of these things. And you'll see our curriculum, the Exploring Bioscience in Islam, also has integration of philosophy and Islamic studies, and along with all of those other sciences as well. There's emphasis on inquiry-based learning, right? And as you saw with Dr. Asim, right, a lot of it is, again, making sure it's research-based questioning and engagement of the students, right? And there, as I mentioned, many activities for the students to do within the curriculum. And then incorporating technology, right? Again, using videos, using various AI tools, so that way your students' learning is enhanced. And that's where Unit 6 would come in, right? So again, this is an extension topic because of the fact that Unit 6 is about extraterrestrial life and how the science and theology inquires about it, which is very fascinating because extraterrestrial life is usually not talked about in biology, right? So when we do discuss that, it talks about how hadith criticism works. And hadith criticism is connected to extraterrestrial life, which, subhanAllah, I would have never thought to put those two things together. But subhanAllah, Sheikh Bilal and Dr. Ahsan did an amazing job putting those two things together and really having students think about extraterrestrial life, whether it does exist or not. And then we have the epistemic framework, right? That culminating activity that really puts everything together, allows you to judge and see how your students have been learning, what concepts are they still still not so good with, right? Have not grasped very well. And that way you're able to adjust your teaching, right? And this connects back to epistemology. Now, I hope that wasn't too fast and too much, but I wanted to turn it over to all of you, right? Any questions and your ideas of how you would integrate this Islamic curriculum or exploring bioscience in Islam curriculum into a biology curriculum, or how would you implement it within your classrooms? Any thoughts and ideas and feedback that you have, I welcome, and please put it in the chat, inshallah. But on my part, just for the sake of time, I wanted to quickly end, but may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in our time and our efforts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to be avenues of change and benefit for our students, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of our work as sadaqah jariyah.
I mean, Aisha, that was a real gold mine of, you know, work that you put into even aligning with the Australian context. I really hope that, inshallah, it's beneficial for our brothers and sisters everywhere. I have pasted the link to the Google Drive where Aisha provided that document for us. Inshallah, we will be able to make its way over to the actual website. So what we want to do is, of course, if you have questions, feel free to put those in the chat for Sister Aisha. What we want to do to meet, inshallah, our last objective here is to give us some time, now that you've heard, you've had some time in the beginning of the session to explore the curriculum, you've really understood the importance of the worldview and epistemic framework from day one session of how that's so foundational to this course. Then we went in and had an overview of how truncated versions of how the unit 4 would be taught in your classrooms potentially. And now Sister Aisha has presented some ways in which it could be taught either as an elective course or integrated through your high school curriculum, in particular biology curriculum. We want to give you a chance to engage in your own action planning. We totally understand and respect that everybody has their own unique context in which they are operating. So we want to ask you to use the action planning document that Sister Lisa is going to paste here. Again, in the chat, you're going to have a link that's going to force a copy so that you can write it. It's a very basic action planning document. And oops, I think that lost the Y there, Sister Lisa, if you want to edit that so that it can actually prompt them to open up the copy. So what we want you to do is just think about the first three, or the three most important things that you need to do to begin implementation of the curriculum. In other words, teaching the curriculum. So think through it by thinking about, what do you need to do? What does, for example, I'm going to actually get out of here and go to this. Oh, that's not it. That's the action planning. Okay. So this is the document that you're going to be able to have the copy of once Lisa gets that in the chat, inshallah. And you're going to think about, what's your action item? Who's responsible for it? And who else is responsible for it? Since this is actions that you need to engage in, I would think that the person responsible here will be, you know, list the 3 actions that you need to take so that you can own, you know, own that. But then obviously some of us might need to talk to an admin, for example. So one action item might be map out the units to the subject I teach. And then the first person responsible would be me, Shaza. And then I might have to go to the department head, for example, for approval. And then the resources I might need is my textbook, standards, and, you know, the units in the curriculum, the bioscience curriculum. Okay, I'm just showing an example of how you do it. And I know that I can't get to it this week or next week, so I'm going to start this, inshallah, February 15th. Making updates here, folks. Great. And so that's an example of what, you know, just starting to get us thinking about, what are we going to do next, inshallah. So I want to give you 5 minutes to go ahead and do that, inshallah. I'm going to add the timer again. And then we'll share some of the actions that you've come up with, just to give other people an idea of like where we're all at with that. And then inshallah, we'll talk about next steps that we have to offer here. So inshallah, I'd like to start off with 5 minutes. If we have time, we might be able to get back into those breakout rooms. If anyone has a strong opinion of how they want to proceed with sharing out, feel free to post that in the chat. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. If anyone has questions about what the instructions are right now, let me know. Sister Lisa has put the link there in the chat for you to click on to do your action planning. And you're just going to come up with 3 actions that you would like to take with time specific. Don't say next week, put the actual dates or, you know, a month and year, for example, with each of those. And we're going to do 5 minutes on those actions. So go ahead and feel free to get as detailed as you need to with the 3 actions. Maybe you need to go back and look at the curriculum. Feel free to do that too. Sister Lisa, if you don't mind, again, dropping that link to the curriculum as well. If anybody's having any trouble with doing this function of copy, don't get hung up on that. If you want to just write it in your own, you know, notebook and pen, with a notebook and pen, feel free to do that. Whatever suits you as the educator to get you into thinking about how to implement this. I'll stop talking now, and any conversation or questions that need to take place can happen over the chat. And inshallah, stick around so that we can provide the survey link and you can get your certificates of participation. We have a little over 30 seconds left. If you need another minute, just put it in the chat and I'll add on a minute if I hear from enough people. Okay, we'll add 1 more minute to this. You're going to wrap up your thoughts. Try and walk away with at least 3 concrete actions if possible. Okay, wrapping up. All right, great. How did that go, guys? We don't have enough time for breakout rooms, so I was wondering if we could get anyone to share what an action is. I would love to hear from somebody from Malik Fahad Islamic School, maybe someone from, there was another school here from Pakistan, a number of them, and one of our US schools. So can we first start off with someone from Malik Fahad School? Anybody from there that would like to share what one of your action items is? Go ahead and unmute.
Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Wa alaikum salam, Sister Sophia.
So here at, we're at Berman Hills, and what we thought of the action plan is that this curriculum, it needs to be like, we need to showcase to each other as to how we will integrate it. So maybe during our, meetings, we can showcase as to how we are training students to questions and interrogate further. Also, your curriculum will we will have to study this thing as to what we are taking the curriculum and putting in there, because so that any teacher who even a new teacher who comes in and who has can know how to integrate this as part of our curriculum. And we are also thinking of like looking at your curriculum and building it like having a bit of it in, for example, in stage 4, then building it a little bit more in stage 5, and then taking it to stage 6, year 12, rather than taking it all and putting it into our stage 6 biology. But wherever it's applicable, we will introduce it, just like our NASA curriculum is, where if it's introducing a concept in biology, it slowly a little bit in stage 4, then builds it along the way. So I hope
I think I understood you, Sister Sophia. We're getting a little bit of your voice cutting off there, but I understand that you want to take it into phases. First, just explore and study the curriculum further to understand where it fits in, and then potentially have it come in at different phases. Great. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much to Malik Fahad School, Islamic School, by the way, and Sister Sophia for all being here. And Jazakallah khairan. Who else wants to share? I was thinking it'd be interesting to hear from somebody from maybe Pakistan and then someone from the United States.
I'd love to share. I'm Naveen Jahanzeb.
Go ahead, Naveen. Yeah, sound like
All
Naveen.
right. So we're with Generation School here in Pakistan. And I believe the first thing that came to my mind, like Sister Sophia said, is obviously teachers' mindset change. So that's like an immediate action. And obviously that has to start from your top. So although we are very much into Quranic integration, and a lot of our concepts are based on that, but somehow, this course has given us further guidelines to make it even better. So that's the first step. Second is because I'm associated, and a lot of my colleagues here, we are with the early years. So we were just thinking that obviously the concept of having children curious, they're already curious, right?
Yeah.
But having them think ethically, Islamically, since their early years foundation, and have an offer aligned to everything that they look at. So somehow it's, if it's not there right in their foundational years, it won't stick around. It'll be like a harder teaching element for teachers when they start to do it, in the high grades. So somehow whatever we've learned today, how to bring it down to those early years. So that's also an immediate action. So something that we'd probably be pondering upon. And obviously the main thing, it's all hands-on here in early years. And I believe now across, it's more to do with what education is change in behavior. So it's not just knowledge. In Islam, it's always been ilm with amal, right? Otherwise, it's pointless. So how to sort of bring that change in behavior, change in the thinking of students, make it natural for them. So those are all immediate actions, tailoring it, bringing it down to whatever we have learned in these past 2 days, alhamdulillah. So jazakallah. It's always enlightening. And, we were thinking that all of this is for higher grade levels. So people might be thinking, why are so many of us all early years sitting here? But I believe unless the foundation is strong, it just sort of eases your road up.
That's incredible, Naveen. No, I'm really excited to
Hello.
hear that. I mean, I think that that's a very unexpected outcome, Sister Aisha, from this curriculum and from the professional development. And I just want to drop, we don't have a lot of time, but I just want to suggest that look into 5D thinking as well, which also trains the kids. And there's a lot of free training on 5D thinking for early years, inshallah, if you haven't already done that.
Dr. Shazza, I'd
Wonderful.
like to add one thing here, adding on to Ms. Naveen. Can I? Do we have time?
Yeah, very briefly, sister. Yes.
All right. I was just adding on to Ms. Naveen. I was also reflecting because we are also in the same early years. I was also thinking that, we could add on wonder questions like who gives life to plants, and starting early, we can have these wonder questions or stories from the Quran and Hadith, which can be integrated into these scientific concepts where we see science jumping in. And then, we already are having hands-on activities, but we can further connect it and create offer Allah that she talked about.
And I think in terms of the action plan, what would be critical is to identify who's the person that's going to start to integrate that. And then when are you going to do that to build in those SMART goals, right? Specific, time sensitive, and assign it to, I'm not getting all the acronym right there, but do we have one last person maybe from the United States who might be willing to share? I don't mean to be leaving anyone else out. Mashallah, we have so many people, but from another country, I guess we've had Australia and Pakistan. Anyone else?
I don't mind to share actually.
Yes, go ahead.
So I actually do, my main focus is high school biology, but I do the middle school and high school. But I actually already integrate a lot of the things that were mentioned before. But the thing that I like to do now is with the curriculum that's available is to take out what I can use from some of the things that are available and see where I can integrate them with what I'm already doing. And I was talking before in the group when we had the group breakouts, this approach is a much more philosophical approach. Whereas as a biology teacher, mine's more like, how can we prove the miracles of the Quran? So it'll be interesting to introduce a more philosophical approach with the students as well, which will get them doing more of that thinking. So I think I just need to go through the curriculum and see what I can pull from it and integrate to what I already have.
And that's really good. Thank you so much, Sister Katie. I think it's almost 12 a.m. over there for you, huh?
Yeah. Yes, actually, I used to live in LA. I just realized you guys are in LA. I moved here from LA.
Well, Lisa's in LA. I'm in Texas, but yeah, mashallah.
Okay.
One of the things that Sister Aisha did over the summer, there was a different professional development. Brother Osama was there from Universal School in New York and many others, that she went over each of the topics, each of the units. And so we will be providing that to all of you as well, inshallah. And actually that transitions me really well into the last part of today, which is to talk about, what's next. So we are done with our professional development for this time. But we want you to know that, first of all, immediately we're going to provide you with a survey, inshallah, to take. We ask you to take it right now, inshallah, if you can hang on just a little longer and complete that. We will be issuing the certificates of completion based on your completion of those surveys. So we'll provide that, and really appreciated all your feedback from the first one. We will send a follow-up email with recordings and resources. That's going to be a pretty robust email. Feel free to share it with others, by the way. Like, that's not like, something that you have to keep for yourselves. Share it with anyone else that you want to share the khair. It's going to have the recordings from this as well as from the summer PD. And the resources. We have a Google Drive folder, and I'm just going to check in with the team to make sure that that's the right way to share that. So within this coming week, that's an email that will come up. So make sure you look for that. Third of all, we will, Sister Lisa is actually dropping the link right now in the WhatsApp group for she's sharing the link for the WhatsApp group in the chat. I understand that everybody's not on WhatsApp. I apologize for being limiting in that way. It's just something that we found, as much as I don't want to have more WhatsApp groups, it seems to be the most effective way to communicate across countries and across, these time zones and stuff. But we'll also send emails. Like, inshallah, that WhatsApp group is a place for you to send questions as you're engaged in implementation and that kind of stuff. Not fiqh questions related to curriculum implementation, okay? So Aisha, inshallah, will be on there, and others from the team. This curriculum team will be on there for us to be able to respond in real time to your questions. And then we'll try and host at least 1 or 2 live Zoom meetings at a time that best fits all of us before May 2025. Okay, so those are the next steps, and the links are being shared here in the chat now. All right, so last of all, we'll be sharing now the day 2 survey. Oh, alhamdulillah, the QR code finally showed up. Lisa shared the day 1 survey there. If you missed it, I think we had like 38 responses to day 1, and please only complete it if you honestly did participate in day 1. We did share the link for the day 1 recording, so you can feel free to do the survey after you watch day 1's recording if you'd like. Okay, and because I imagine not everybody's taking that, I would like to conclude with dua. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakumullah khairan. Please forgive us for any of our shortcomings, any technical glitches, for potentially not meeting your expectations. May Allah make it nonetheless a source of barakah for you and for all of us, and for those who've participated in making this curriculum what it is, and really, really for each of you, for your time and for your interest and for all that you do to make Islam alive and a living tradition for our children. May Allah make it a sadqa jariyah for you all. Jazakumullah khairan. Take care, everybody. We'll close the recording now, and again, inshallah, in the next week or in this week, we'll send you an email with all of this in there. But it's